the first to know Nsem-Pii TV.
Samuel Okudzeto ablakwa de ababetu edwase ekamye se NDC NPP amanyuko no ehwa aban mu nti won epese won eyiso won power na yewra Brian a champion a ono eye NP ewo NPP amanyuko ni etimi etoto Senate hotels enomne ada ajapade aka Labadi Beach nomne ade eno na Samuel Okudzeto ablakwa recently oni NDC amanyuko no emu mpanifo etisi mu wo monten so won kan pompuni mantem eye demonstration chenchirenche editi asade we se deal no a ekoso no eye ade se kata hihye pro ani dwirimdie na ewo mu nti aban no hwe na onka bibi eno enam so ma Samuel Okudzeto ablakwa etebiri asem no edikokopie mu ewo CHRAJ se CHRAJ nye na onye nhwehwemu na Samuel Okudzeto ablakwa ene Sammy Gyamfi ekohia eka nsem bi na ekamye se sansem na won eka no sana enye nokre na CHRAJ ena ama ye hu nokre no a ewo yenko na yenko tie.
If this is about as Ejapamesa is claiming, if it is about Senate wanting to save worker investments, they should have been starting from SEC. But clearly, it's not profitable.
All right, so
you don't have a Labadi.
The GRA to appears would have to answer some questions.
I know guests have been waiting, but it's important.
Quickly.
Yesterday, I advised him. He didn't take it.
What did you tell him?
I told him that he should be cautious in putting people's integrity on the line when his facts can be questioned.
Okay, let's question the
because
facts.
You see, thankfully you are a lawyer. You made a categorical allegation on your program with Sammy Gyamfi that Rock City made losses in 2023. It turns out that Rock City has not even filed its annual returns for 2023. They have written to the GRA tax office, sought an extension for them to file their corporate accounts where you see their profit and loss and the taxes that they pay.
You clearly are not reading the document.
Please, I will come there. And I will expose the deception.
Please don't interrupt him. Let's hear.
You go ahead.
They've written a letter to the tax office to extend it to end of June. So they haven't filed for 2023. So how do you determine that they made losses in 2023? You go and take this document.
Here, he hasn't said they made loss. He points out that they indicated that they were not going to make profit.
Yes. Read page 1 of 14 of 2023. Read it.
You see,
they went to GRA.
I recall when he said it. I said this whole profit is not the same as making profit.
Exactly.
You see, withholding tax credit form, 12 February, 8 March 2024. This is the select
20th April
assessment year, February, withholding tax all through. You go to page 2, withholding tax. Is it profit and loss?
You give me one.
Go to 20th April 2023. I thought
Samson, withholding tax. Withholding tax.
Okay.
Withholding tax, page 3. Then you come.
Okay.
CIT, because the withholding tax, right, is what is used to offset whatever profits that you make. And so you look at the corporate tax income CIT totals, 543,791. He says this demonstrates that company has made losses. Go to the next page, PAYE. Then this is what they've paid January, February, March, and the total pay as you earn total for the up to May is 256. Then the next column, withholding tax.
Income tax, and you are talking about withholding tax.
Where is the corporate income tax? They have not filed their accounts
entry
for
number 5.
Entry number what?
They went to the GRA.
Were you there? Does it say so?
Yes, 20th April.
What?
Why? Are you?
Read it.
Are you blind?
Read it.
20th April 2023. The process returns for 2023. Reference number C006446833R001. They told the GRA they anticipate that they will not make profit in 2023.
You can interpret this to mean
yes, that's what it means.
GRA.
Yes, that is what it is. That's what the entry is.
Thankfully,
read the document.
Not a problem. You can do your propaganda.
I mean, you keep shifting the goalposts.
Look,
first you say I have nothing.
Because
there are no documents.
Look at it. You see withholding tax totals. You see value-added tax standard totals. This is the document that you are holding. NHIS Get Fund COVID-19 totals.
But the entry clearly says it's not going to make profit.
It's not going to make profit.
That's what he's saying.
No,
which I say it's not the same as making a loss.
Yes. Where does it say so? unless I
there.
don't understand English. He says process
All right.
returns for 2024. Does it say that I'm not making losses or I'm making profit? Is that the interpretation of these words?
That is it. That you will not make profit for the year.
Are you
That's it.
serious?
That's what it is. You haven't made profit for the first quarter.
But
You don't
in any
anticipate that you make
in any
profit.
event, in any event,
He speaks about the filing.
Yes.
He speaks about
Hold on.
the filing which they went back to update.
Not a problem.
Where initially they said they were not going to make profit, and then went back and said we think we are making something, so change that for us.
It's the facts that
Okay.
You are a corporate lawyer. You work with GRA. You work for companies that work with GRA. Every year they make an assessment of your taxes and apply it up front.
That's correct.
So you can't go assuming, and I'm not speaking to this because I don't have the facts.
Yeah.
So you can't go and challenge the assessment that they made that, hey, per my operations.
You certainly can.
Yeah, you can.
Does it show that you are profitable or unprofitable at that point?
Okay, that's a point I've
Because
already raised.
you can
Let
only
me go to
establish the profitability when they file their annual returns.
The company you speak for,
And they have not filed
where
it.
did they get their tax clearance certificate to participate in the bid? Where did they get it from?
Ask the issuer, not me.
You are speaking for the
because tax clearance,
he raised an
they
issue.
pay taxes. Pay as you earn.
Where is the tax clearance certificate?
VAT, all of it is in the document that he is holding. Oh, this document that he gave me yesterday. You can have a copy and glance through.
No, but he's pointing to in May when they
I'm
filed
saying
2022.
See.
And in 2021, which was filed in 2023. So the question is, at the time they were putting in the bid, did they have a tax clearance certificate, valid one for the period?
But if it was part of the eligibility criteria, then you expect that.
expect.
Look, you
It is
see,
always
wait,
standard.
wait,
It's always
wait,
tax,
wait.
SNITs, they are always standard.
I agree.
Yeah.
But
we
so-
take them and we disqualify.
So
yeah.
for you and I, who only pay PAYE,
Right.
if you go for a tax clearance certificate, it will indicate whether you've paid those your personal income taxes.
Right.
For companies that pay as you earn, who pay VAT, who
Withholding.
pay NHIS, who pay all of that, they will indicate in the columns the taxes that you've paid on each item and for the period.
Only when you have filed your returns.
Oh,
In this case, you
hold on,
didn't
Sammy,
file your
Sammy, hold on.
returns.
But you see, withholding tax
Okay,
is filed monthly.
We are not being fair to our guests on the line.
VAT is filed monthly.
Okay.
Your profit,
This is deliberate-
corporate
deliberate
income tax.
obfuscation.
I'm speaking to fact, oh.
Deliberate
and
obfuscation.
you know
Please,
it.
please don't interject him that way.
Corporate income tax returns is filed annually.
That's correct.
And I'm saying to you, for the record, that the assertion that you made on your show with Sammy Gyamfi that in 2023, Rock City made losses is false.
Okay.
Because they haven't even filed
Okay,
their
so that's the
account
point you've already-
that it was wrong or right. I'm saying that consistently over the years, SNIT board makes determinations as regards its investment appetite and what investment was given it return for the funds that they were managing. And so in 2011, it took a decision to initially put together Trust Bank, First Atlantic with EcoBank. At the time, I was working at First Atlantic Merchant Bank. We hadn't met the minimum capital requirements at the time. Trust Bank had met it. EcoBank, obviously, because it's a big boy, had sufficient enough capital. But SNIT took a decision they wanted to merge all the three. The only reason why First Atlantic was not part of that measure was because the chief executive at the time, Mr. Judatha, had made a representation to the board of First Atlantic with SNIT representatives, in fact, shareholders of First Atlantic, that look, he does not object to First Atlantic participating in any measure. However, capitalize the bank so that the bank can go into those measure discussions on an equal footing with TTB and EcoBank. Samson, we had started the capitalization quest as far back as 2009. SNIT, the largest shareholder at the time, was never interested in putting any money in First Atlantic Bank anymore. But because of that representation, the next day they submitted a check to pay for additional equity in First Atlantic to enable them dispose of it to EcoBank. Coincidentally, we had engaged EM Capital, headed by Mr. Michael Sean, to help us capitalize the bank. And they had submitted some investment proposal from Kedari nominees from Nigeria. That shareholders meeting when they approved the acquisition of shares by SNIT, which would have taken them to 90% holding in the bank, also approved the CHRAJ transaction. And so, post that approval of those two investments, SNIT's stake reduced to less than 50%, such that they could not force the measure between First Atlantic, TTB, and EcoBank. That's why they went ahead to do the measure with only EcoBank and CHRAJ Bank. And subsequently used the Bank of Ghana to hoodwink CHRAJ to buy SNIT out as part of the approval process, because significant shareholding, you need Bank of Ghana approval before your shareholding can be accepted. But it was an investment decision that SNIT had taken at the time, that they were no longer interested in investing in banks because it was not returning sufficient enough return according to them to the fund. Subsequently, in 2013, they did the same thing to Merchant Bank, where they sold SNIT's majority stake in Merchant Bank to Fortis. In 2020, 2022, 2023, they decide that, look, these hotels that we have significant investments in, per the document that they've issued, is not generating sufficient enough return to the fund. And so they were disposing of their interest, or at least a significant part of it, to a strategic investor, so that SNIT can reduce its risk in those hotels. They go through a public tender, and all of a sudden that becomes an issue. How consistent are we? In any event, Samson, I'm sure you contribute to the SNIT pension fund.
Of course.
I do as well. Some Okudzeto does. Is it prudent for the contributions that we make to be invested in banks that are not paying any dividends to our fund? And at the very least, if they were making a return of 1.5%, you will support the board of SNIT to keep holding that investment and keep putting money in it? I certainly will not.
The suggestion is you don't have to sell. You don't have to divest your interest.
So what do you do?
What you do, change course,
change
management.
Haven't they in the past and yielded no result?
So something is certainly wrong.
Absolutely. But what are they doing?
If a private investor can see the profits in the entity that is going downhill, then there's something good in there.
I agree. I happen to work in the public service now, coming from a private sector background. The attitude is completely different. And so what has the board decided to do? Are they disposing of all the SNIT's interest in the hotels? Are they? They are shedding off 60% to reduce their exposure. Because for 15 years, and bring a private sector player who will bring that kind of private sector attitude to ensure that they generate the requisite return for you and I, the fund owners. It becomes an issue.
What does 60%?
The only
what does
issue
60% for a private investor render you in the scheme of things?
It gives you a return if they make profit. And the private investor, because they are minded to ensure that the investment generates the requisite profit that we are not getting in the public space. And that is what has informed all the state-owned assets that have been disposed of during the tenure of previous governments, including the NDC, primarily. But it's Brian Achampon. So all hell must break loose.
But this is not new, though. In 2013, you remember, Andy Awuni.
So let's admit, I agree.
Andy Awuni was in the presidency working for
not a problem at all.
When Merchant Bank came up, for sale, Andy Awuni was against it. He went to the courts. Yeah.
So it goes back to the issue that this is nothing but politics. Pure and simple. It has nothing to do with the interest of SNIT or the pension fund holders. It has nothing to do with anything but the personality of Brian Achampon, who is acquiring that asset, who happens to be an MPP member, who hasn't breached any law, either constitutional or otherwise. That is the only basis for all this noise.
He hasn't breached any law.
What law has he breached?
The provisions of the Constitution.
Show me.
Referenced.
Show me.
He needs a certificate of the Speaker.
Very good.
To do a job for emoluments.
You see?
And we understand he doesn't have a certificate.
Says who? I don't have a problem. Where's the recourse? Oh, I'm coming. Where is the recourse to CHRAJ? Read chapter 24, article 287. An allegation that the public officer has contravened or has not complied with the provision of this chapter. It's only a 3-page chapter, chapter 24. The article 98 that he makes reference to. You can only go to the Speaker to lodge a complaint.
I've talked about 284. I went to CHRAJ because of 284. 287 is the forum, which is CHRAJ.
Wait.
Yes.
284 says a public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest. Has Brian Acheampong put himself in any position relative to this transaction that his personal interest is conflicting with the performance of his public office? Is he a Minister for Finance? Is he the board? Is he on the board of SNET?
He's not at cabinet.
Thank you very much. Is it a cabinet decision? Have you seen any cabinet memo relative to this transaction that SNET board has submitted this transaction to cabinet for approval and Brian Acheampong participated in the decision?
You're not sure?
Have you seen it? You see? Look, Samson, I'm coming. Oh, please. You see? So he says it's going to CHRAJ under Article 284.
And 287.
And I'm saying that 284 can only be relevant in that only case that you read, where Brian Acheampong, in this case, if he was contracting as minister with a third-party company that he had an interest in, then you could properly found an allegation of conflict of interest against him. That is what the procedure that is spelled out in 287 says. That when anybody breaches a provision of this chapter 24, go to CHRAJ. But I'm saying that because you yourself realize that Brian has not breached any 284 provision, strictly so-called, you are bringing in 98. And I'm saying that 98, if you say, and I'm not in a position to verify, he's breached it, your recourse is not to CHRAJ. And so you go and gather people and go and do demonstration and play NDC songs. So it's pure politicking. And use the tag that suits them. State capture. Where is the state capture in this? Then I go back to ask, when you were selling those entities in the past, was it state capture? And he says he started his activism in 2008, but it went underwater between 2009 and 2016 when he was in government, when all these transactions were taking place. If you had the interest of the pension holders at heart, why did you not object to the sale of these assets to whoever? Because from what I hear,
if
he says that it's not personalizing the